Now let us move forward to the line-by-line explanation. I will read the poem and explain you side by side. Now we will count to 12 and we will all keep still. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for a second and not move our arms so much. So at the very outset of the poem, Pablo Neruda, the poet, requests everyone on earth to count up to 12 and maintain complete silence. He is appealing everyone to maintain a state of stillness for a count of 12. He wants everyone to suspend all their activities with an immediate effect and maintain complete silence. The use of the number 12 is very important. You will wonder why the poet has used the number 12. Poet's use of the number 12 could be associated to the 12 hours in the clock that represent the hours of both days and night. The number 12 also indicates the 12 months in a year, and it also suggests the 12 zodiac signs. By using the expression counting to 12, the poet begins this session of self-introspection. He now using this expression, the poet through this expression count to 12 wants to suggest that even this short measure of time, 12, count to 12 is a very short measure of time, and even in this short measure of time will enable people to calm themselves down by suspending all their mindless and unwanted activities, and they will be ready to move into a state of complete silence, which enables them to introspect, to analyze oneself. The complete silence around them will help them to introspect, to look within, and to realize their deeds. For once on the face of the earth, let us not speak in any language. So here he appeals that at least for once on the face of the earth. On the face of the earth means on the various parts of the earth, cities, towns, countries, on the surface of the earth, everywhere in the world. Let us not speak in any language. He does not want anyone in this world to speak in any language, at least during that particular period of time when we will be maintaining complete silence. Because he thinks language, instead of acting only as a medium of communication, because we all know, is a means of communication to bridge the gap between the speaker and the listener. But language is also act as a kind of barrier. There is a lot of discrimination among people on the basis of language. It divides people, and language spoken in different parts of the earth sometimes create an obstruction in the way of attaining peace. As we know, language spoken by different people has been a reason for many battles, fights, and contention, means arguments, debate among people. So he asks people to remain silent and not to speak in any language, as he doesn't want anyone to indulge themselves in any dispute or war or any kind of argument in the name of language. He feared that if we speak language, we might indulge ourselves into a dispute or quarrel. So he doesn't want us to speak in any language, at least not during those moments of complete silence. He wants everybody in every part of the world to indulge in just one language, and that is the language of silence. By maintaining silence together at the same time, all men would be using the same language, that is, the language of silence, and then they will be considered as one, and they will be united, and they will feel united. He has used the word for once because as he is appealing to everyone to do something that they have never done before. That is why he has used the word for once. For once on the face of earth, let's not speak any language. Let's stop for 1 second and not to move arms so much. The poet then asks everyone to remain still and stop for a while, for 1 second, and not to indulge themselves in any bodily movement, and asks us not to move even our arms in order to concentrate upon self introspection. Now, why the poet is saying not to move our arms? Not to move our arms is actually a pun because the word arms has been used in the sentence with two different meanings. One is the physical movement of our arms, our hands. The poet does not want to move our hands. Why? Because most of the time we use our hands for doing something destructive to nature, to mankind. We do not use our arms to do something positive, but to show gestures of aggression which harms others, and to avoid all the destructive activities which will lead to violence, brutality, bloodshed. The poet wants us to stop for a second and to introspect, to think, and not to move even our arms. In this complete silence, you will be able to introspect. You will be able to look into his action, and it might bring peace. So, this is the one meaning. And another meaning, arms here also stands for weapon. He urges us not to fight or not to use any weapons against each other. By not using any language, by not using our arms for destructive purposes, the poet appeals everyone just to be in a state of peace and tranquility. In these few moments of silence, one can create a moment of togetherness. So this is the explanation of the first few lines of the poem Keeping Quiet. Now, moving forward with the explanation, I would read out the lines. It would be an exotic moment, without rush, without engines. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. It here refers to the moment of stillness and silence which the poet recommends for everyone in this world. The poet feels that such a moment of silence would be an exotic one. Why? Exotic means something unusual. Here, by exotic moment, the poet referred to the moment when each and every person all over the world would remain quiet and still at the same time. When all of us will stop all our work and movements all together at the same time and just stay silent for a count till 12, we will experience an unusual moment which referred to as an exotic moment. It is for the first time the whole of the mankind will be experiencing such a moment when everyone in the world will be doing the same thing together at the same time. Such a moment of extreme silence and stillness would be an unusual one because there would be no rush during that time. During that particular moment, there would be no rush of life. People will not run after their goals, after money, after materialistic things, after success, and everybody in this world will maintain silence. Everyone will enjoy a state of peace and contentment, means satisfaction. In this modern world, everyone is in a rush to achieve materialistic things, one after the another. In this competitive world, we are so busy in accomplishing our work, our dreams, that sometimes we forget to take rest, to pause, to think whether we are moving towards a right direction or not. And this leads to chaos in our lives. But in that exotic moment, when we will maintain silence, there would be no such rush. This sudden silence would give people an opportunity to self introspect. Without engines, suggest, in that very moment there will be no noise of the engines, no vehicle will ply, the troublesome loud sound of the engines will come to a halt, no industrial work to be done, there will be complete and absolute silence. And when everything would come to a standstill for some time, then this moment of silence will be an exotic moment. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. In this exotic moment of silence, one can experience the strength of togetherness. Everybody in this whole world will come together, will be united in this moment of complete silence. There will be no rush, no sound, but stillness and quietness. The silence or peace would form the common link between all of us, bringing us all together. In this moment of silence and stillness, we all experience harmony, brotherhood, companionship among each other, because we will self introspect our actions. Sudden strangeness, the moment of complete silence. It will be an unique time. We will all be mentally and physically still, relaxed. In this moment of total stillness and quietness, we will get time to think, to judge our own activities, and introspect ourselves. That is why the poet urges us to suspend all our activities for some moment, because it will help us to introspect ourselves. It will provide an insight into the mad rush and selfish actions we indulge in. When we will ponder and analyze our actions and attitude, we will develop a mutual understanding and realize the importance of coexistence. The poet wants to say that it would be an exotic moment with reduced industrial activity, that is, engines, and the silence or the peace would form the common link between all of us, bringing us all together. When everything would come to standstill with reduced industrial activities for some time, and people will not participate in any kind of rat race for material advancement or progress, then the moment of silence will be an exotic one. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. Fishermen here represents mankind who are indulging in destructive activities against nature, and nature is represented by whales. The poet expects that in the moment of stillness and quietness, means the moment, in that exotic moment, the fisherman will get time to introspect. They would not harm the whales or nature at that time. The poet wants them to cease all their destructive activities during this brief period of time and identify their mistakes. In this brief moment of silence, realization will dawn upon them and they will be able to rectify themselves. Quiet introspection would perhaps bring about a change in the attitude of the fisherman and also in the attitude of the mankind who indulge themselves in destructive activities. Cold sea suggests cold heart, which is devoid of love, empathy. In his greed for survival, fisherman's heart has also become cold, devoid of love and care. That is why he doesn't bother to destroy the nature and its thing. The fisherman represents man's exploitation of nature and its resources for its own benefit and interest. Here the poet emphasizes how man has exploited nature for his own purpose without thinking about the destruction he is causing to the environment. The fisherman can also be interpreted as tyrants, the oppressor, the mighty ones in the society, and the whales could be interpreted as the oppressed section, the submissive ones. According to the poet, during that quiet moment of introspection, the mighty, the powerful one would not be able to harm the weaker ones. They would stop hurting others in an attempt to understand themselves. The poet wants them to stop all their destructive works and realize their mistakes. And the line, the man gathering salt would look at his hard hands. A man or workers who work in a salt pit has to work with salt that is untreated, and untreated salt means raw salt is extremely corrosive, means destroying something gradually. Most of the time salt pit workers have heavily corroded hands, as you can see it in the picture. Their flesh almost withers away. In the moment of silent introspection, when the salt gatherer is also at rest, he would also get some time to take care of his hurt hands. The salt gatherer who is so busy in earning his livelihood that he does not have the time to see the destruction that he is doing to himself. In this moment of stillness, he will be able to pay attention to the pain that he has been causing to himself and take care of his hands. The salt gatherer can be explained as the representative of poor and lower class section of the society. They go up to any level to earn their livelihood and often hurt themselves.